Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with my Shojodoji deck profile updated video. Then I'm going to take a look at the new Shojodoji, everything it got, all the amazing new support cards it got, and then it's really good. As you probably already know, it's one of the better decks, potentially even the best deck in the format, and yeah, I'm really enjoying this deck. It's been a blast to be playing this. I finally completed it today as the final cards came in, so I just jumped right into recording a video for you guys, and I hope you'll enjoy. Please leave a comment down below about anything I messed up, because I'm sure I will, and leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get right into the video. First up, of course, we'll start with a starter. It's your own choice, whatever starter you want. I took the shiny one from the Shojodoji Strike deck, because it's shiny, and me and my opponent will mistakenly think I'm playing Shiranui because of it, who knows. Second up, we have the grade 1 Shojodoji. This Shojodoji has a really strong right line, wherein on place you get to look at the top 5 cards, and then for the grade 1 you put 1 to soul and you bind 1, which has a lot of really good interaction with the general game plan. For the grade 2 you get to check the 5 again, and put 1 to your soul and call 1 to regular circle. That gives you a free body on the field and more soul. They both have the secondary effect where you can soul blast 1 to call them from the bind zone, which generates you free value, a free field sometimes, like you're missing some pieces, you're missing a booster or anything. Like, they're there for you, and it's pretty damn nice. Honestly, you get a lot of free value just from having these right line cards during ride up and even during your general game plan. Last but not least, we have the new boss unit of the deck, the Cloudwater Flitfoot Stealth Rogue Shojodoji. It counts as the original Shojodoji, however we do not play the original Shojodoji anymore, as this one just completely overshadows him. He has an axe skill where you Energy Blast 3 and bind 3 cards with stealth in their card name. You choose 2 of your opponent's rearguard circles, which does get around resist, but does not get around something such as Angel Ladder, and then you get to rip 1 card out of your opponent's hand. All 3 of those cards get bound, and at the end of the turn they return to their hand. Then on attack you get to put 2 of your rearguards to your soul, and then call 2 cards from a bind zone to rearguard circle. Now this also works when you're being attacked, and then you can call them to the guardian circle. So there's a good argument for binding a perfect guard, and then being able to call it out to guard during your opponent's turn. It's a very versatile skill, it'll allow you to do a lot of really cool plays, and generally just it is really nice to have these options available to you. Now that we've gone over the right line, we'll go over the grade 3s in the deck. There's only 2 of them. The first one being the Persona Right copies, which is any deck we want to run our Persona Right copies. And secondly, I'm running 3 copies of Unpresident, and I'll explain why I'm running 3 instead of 4 later on. Is 4 more optimal? Perhaps it is, but to me it's less fun. So right now I'm running 3 of them. I hope you guys picked these up when I did my last Shojodoji deck profile. I recommended to pick up these cards if you were interested, because they spiked a lot since my last Shojodoji deck profile, and it's crazy. Honestly, if you want to buy and build Shojodoji right now, you'll be in a world of hurt. Then for the grade 2s of the deck, we'll be going over our Ogujishishi. When he's placed, you get to check top 5 of your deck, put 1 into your soul. Put 1 stealth unit, or has actually a stealth card, so even better, this one functions with orders too, if we ever get a stealth order. And if your opponent is grade 3, you get plus 5k, very nice, very useful. And 5k is relevant, and it makes 23k with a booster. Secondly, when the unit is put to soul, you can pay counterblast 1, you choose 2 face-up cards in your opponent's bind zone, and you put them to the drop zone, and then your player gets the skill that all of your front row stealth units gets plus 5k. So that's an aura effect that lasts until the end of the turn, which is very good. Returning back on President, I forgot to explain his skill. It's very easy. So when placed by the card's ability, you have a Shojodoji Vanguard or Tamayura, but we're not playing Tamayura. So more importantly, Shojodoji, Soul Blast 1 and draw a card. Then if 2 or more cards were put from regular circle into your soul this turn, it gets plus 10k. So this allows us to make some better power columns, and depending on how your board is set up, you'll kind of like switch up how you do your combos, and you'll think about your combos on the fly, which is one of the fun parts about this deck. Next up, we'll go over the extender of the deck, Shojodoji. So when this card is put into soul from deck or regular circle, you can bind him and soul charge 1. So this sets him up in bind zone, because when 2 or more rear guards were put into the soul at the same time during your turn, counterblast 1 and call this card to an open rearguard circle. So this is how you extend your multi-attacks, this is how you accomplish more pressure turns, and you kind of just get a lot more value out of this card now than you did in the old Shojodoji, since your Vanguard doesn't use a counterblast anymore. It's a lot more explosive now, and because of the plus 5k to front throw that you get from Okushiki in your optimal turn 1, it swings for okay numbers now. You'd still obviously prefer Persona Ride, because without Persona Ride, Shojodoji still hits kind of weak, and you'll have to struggle to get over defensive. Next up is one of the all-star cards in this deck. He has been since he's released, and he even was for a while in the Shiranui build. It's Isasao. This card shouldn't come as a stranger to anyone who has been playing Vanguard lately. On place, counterblast 1, you checked up 5 for a stealth unit and add it to hand. More specifically, it has to be a normal unit. This does include perfect guards, since we now have perfect guards from the Shiranui trial deck. And I guess if you want to pay out for those World Original PGs, there's also an option. Secondly, when this card is put from rearguard circle into your soul, you give your Vanguard plus 5k and you bot-tech one of the units in your opponent's bind zone, which is, you know, it really helps your Vanguard hit like for decent numbers, and of course it removes like advantage from your opponent, because else they'll get those cards back and you really don't want that. So between Isasao and Ogushishi, you're trying to just diminish the cards that they get back as much as possible. Next up, we'll be moving over to the greater ones. Of course, we're running the Stealth Perfect Guard at 4 copies. We're not running the Blitz Order, simply because it's not a stealth name. Now you want to have as many opportunities to find a PG of Isasao, or even soul charges with Ogushishi, so we can bind it and then guard with it. The entire archetype is really based on those stealth units, and we're really trying to focus on just having a full-on stealth build. I'm running 4 copies of Rhydon Kunai. This is the countercharger of the deck. Because when another rearguard is placed on rearguard circle and bind zone, you can bind himself. Give that unit plus 5. If you didn't countercharge yet this turn, you countercharge 1. And in the bind zone, when your Greater Rearguard or Shojodoji Vanguard is attacked, you can call him to Guardian Circle and he gets plus 5k shield. So not only is he a countercharger, he's also a 10k shield for free. So you can call him down and bind him, and then it's pretty much free value as he just returns as a bigger shield in bind zone. It's kind of nice. There's no point not committing him to the field ever, as, you know, he pretty much just bounces to hand in a kind of weird way, you know, because you combine from a guard zone, it's, you know what I mean. Next up, we'll go over Kenran, the new grade 1 of the deck. Running this at 3 as well. So at the end of the unit boosted. If I have a Greater Shojodoji and its card name, I can put 2 rearguards in the same column as this unit is soul with stealth. So himself and a unit in front of it that has stealth. Then you choose a grade 2 or greater card with stealth and its card name from your drop and put it into hand. Now, why is this so good? Not only do you recycle a card from your drop zone, but this also puts 2 cards into your soul, which then triggers Shojodoji to do an extra attack. He's the enabler for the extra attack extender besides our Vanguard, and he allows us to really lay on that multi-attack pressure. Then the card that I just really like, and potentially it's better to cut this card to run some other cards at 4 copies, but for now I'm not doing it yet. I might change my mind on it later, as you know, I've played some test games and already found there were some clunkinesses with it, but I still really like this card as a concept and as an aggro tool. And of course it's the Stealth Fiend Shenri. She's an amazing card still, you know, but sometimes when your opponent just has too much board presence, she doesn't trigger, and then, you know, it doesn't end up well. And you'd rather call Kinran at that point to do more multi-attacks and stuff. But still, I think this card deserves to be in this deck, especially with how flexible it is and how tutorable a lot of your cards are. Shenri gets plus 5k if your opponent has 1 or less card, or if you played an order this turn, and at the end of the battle it boosted under the same conditions. You can put her into soul and then draw a card. So you can just commit her for free turn 2 and usually have a really strong grade 2 game. That's why I really like her personally, and I think she's an amazing card. Then last but not least, we have Kagishika. It's kind of the consistency fixer, but he will go down to 2 once we get Union in the Sky, or you could already run it at 2 if you want to run the Cycler. Regardless, the card is quite nice for what it does. On places, you put a stealth from drop into soul, and when something's called from your bind zone, you can put himself into soul to draw a card. Now, I've done this a couple of times where I called my right line, I had this on the field, and instantly entering the main phase, put him in the soul to try and dig for more pieces, which, you know, it turned out quite nicely sometimes. You find that Isasao off of it, it feels amazing, because then you just place that down, kind of swan, find another piece, and you just build your own board out of just a single draw. And other times you draw a trigger and you're like, darn it. But that's of course a risk you always take when drawing a card in Vanguard. Sometimes it's good, sometimes you draw a trigger. Next up, talking about triggers, we'll go with a trigger line. Of course we're running 4 heals, 8 crit, 3 front. Could run draws, but I found myself decking out quite a bit, so I would, rather not risk that. And then finally, the overtrigger, running the Dragon Empire 1 because Shojodoji's all-attack skill is not once per turn, because of course it's not. So when you check this, you can do it twice, and if you have enough bind zone set up, you can do the same shenanigans all over again. So that was it for the deck portion of the video. I'll shortly go over some basic combo turns. There's a lot of different combos you can do with this deck depending on what tools you have available to you and how well your soul charges went in your grade 1 and grade 2 turn. I'll go over the standardized turn real quick. I'll be right back after I set up the field. Alright, we're back. I've set up a simple field where it's 3 damage to open 1 face down. Our bind setup from our right line is right here, and usually we have 6 to 9 energy. Energy is never a problem in this deck because you use as much energy as you make every turn, so it's basically free. You just don't get to use energy for much else. Usually what I like to do, start off by calling the Ogashishi, checking the top 5, find anything nice to soul charge. In this case you probably go for this because you can actually bind it and get free shield value later on. Then you look at your soul, and usually I really like binding something like this if I want to go full aggressive, or you can bind a PG instead of the grade 2, depending on where you have set up. So at this point your opponents will bind 2 of their rearguard circles and a card from hand, so there's 3 cards in their bind zone. Then we call Kinron here and Raiden Kunai there. Our first attack would go right here, which is 18k Vanguard. At this point these 2 would go into the soul, which then allows us to add anything back. This allows us to recycle Persona Rights, really good. So that comes back to our hand. Now Ogashishi is on standby, so we can counterblast 1. We go front row a blanket plus 5k, quite nice. And then since it's on standby, we get to call out our stealth dragon. We want to do this regardless if they check a defensive or not. Also, we want to really have enough things to put back in our soul with Vanguard attack. They check a defensive, it's quite unfortunate, and there's not much we can do about it. On Persona Right, of course, it doesn't matter as much because we have the extra plus 10k, so we'll actually still be able to hit. But going first, if they check a defensive, unfortunate. This will be 23k because of the extra 5k that we're getting static to the front row. Put a dice here just to remind us. Then our Vanguard gets to attack. Remember, we already put 2 cards from our opponent's bind to their drop zone. At this point, Vanguard skill allows us to put 2 cards into soul. I like doing it like this since it signifies what I still to resolve, and it allows me to forget less. Now the cool part of Shojodoji is that the 2 things you call don't have to be in the same column, so that's why I'm calling this here and here. At this point he would have an extra 10k from his own ability. Then I would trigger the Raiden Kunai, extra 5k here, allows to countercharge. Since we have counterblast now, we get to call out another Shojodoji. Our Vanguard will get plus 5k from the Isasao, and with Baltic, our last remaining card in your opponent's bind zone. This triggers to bind itself and soul charge 1. You can use the soul charging triggers with this, as it's the only random soul charge in the deck. However, it's mandatory, so not much we can do about it. At this point, if you had another CB open, we could have called another Kinron instead behind here to do another multi-attack and get more pressure out. However, we're lacking CB now, and honestly it's already a really nice turn, and in case our opponent checks defensive, we're already shut down anyway from hitting over them. I think this is good enough. Have a really nice pressure turn. Just our opponent Vanguard swings for 23k with a twin drive, check a trigger. Just for the sake of easing in the numbers, I'll ignore that the trigger power is there. But in this case, you probably, since this is 28 right now, and this would be 33, so you'd probably put it here to make it 43, which is a nice magic number. So you swing 38, 43, or well, normally it's 33, and that still hits for a really nice number, hits over 2 defensives, and it's kind of like why I like still running Shenri, because it allows me to hit for really nice numbers. Shenri can go into soul for another draw, and we have 2 rear guards remaining for our defensive turn on our opponents. So that's the most easy going first combo I found, which combines a lot of multi-attack with a lot of draw power. In this case, we even forgot to resolve the extra draw from Unprecedented, so that would be another card in hand. So you would essentially just go plus quite a bit of hand size, and you would pressure your opponent quite a lot. I've had games where this was enough to just finish out the game, or put me in a dominant enough position where my opponent couldn't come back from anymore. Shojodoji is a really strong deck, guys. It's really pretty amazing as to what this deck has become. I expect you all to run into this deck quite a lot in the next couple of months. So get your thinking cap on and already start learning just what this deck does and what the choke points are. CB is an issue sometimes, but as you just saw, Raiden Kunai can counter choke, and even without CB we can do 4 attacks quite easily. With 1 CB we're already at 5. If you have Raiden Kunai on, that's always +1. Alright everyone, thank you so much for listening to me rambling about one of my favorite decks, Shojodoji. I hope you all enjoyed this little short and informative discussion about it and like a little bit of a showcase as to what it can do going first on its first grade 3 turn. If I made any mistakes, please let me know in the comments. I'm sure it could happen where I'm just going over things too fast and just saying the wrong word, you know. Until next time, I hope you all have a good day, and bye bye.